What is good, YouTube? Before I even start on this tutorial, I just want to give a big shout out to my client that is in the chair, actually, my man Josh Hing. Now this guy, he wanted to actually cut off all this hair, go back to his regular 3 on top, bald fade on the side, but I actually was able to talk him into doing this haircut, this little faux hawk, burst taper faux hawk, one more time just for the sake of YouTube. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and thank you very much, Josh, for waiting another 2 weeks before you got another fresh one. So we're gonna start with the Oster speed lines with the 6 on top, and then I actually figured out that we did an 8 on top instead of a 6, so then I had to switch to 8. He was talking me out of that shit right there. So then we had to switch to 8. I thought we did a 6. Now we gotta just go over with an 8 on top. My bad, I know, y'all. We're just gonna take it nice and easy over the top, make sure everything's all nice and even in the back, on the back of his head, and over that cowlick. He does have a little bit of a cowlick, as you can see. Around those areas, you wanna make sure all the hair is taken down nice and evenly. Then I'm gonna go ahead and take my wall heroes. Instead of making a hard indent line like I usually do, I've actually been switching it up to making it a little bit softer, kinda working my way up and creating that guideline, and just kinda like a regular mid fade and working right behind the ear. And once I get it right around the top of the ear, I kind of drift it right back off in that lineup on the neckline. Then I go ahead with my Andis shavers, go ahead shave them down. Then I'm gonna go ahead with my fast feeds with the 0 guard close and create my next guideline. Just still following that kind of arch that I've made with my bald guideline. Now I want to emphasize that first arch with the bald guideline. You want to make sure that that kind of sets the basis for the rest of the fade, because everything else is gonna play off that, the shape wise, and how far back or how far up you go with your fade. Now I'm just gonna go with my Andis fade masters and work my way from close guard, halfway, then open guard, and then you're gonna see me switch the lever back and forth, kind of just playing with it to make sure everything is all nice and evened out. I always want to make sure this is like one of the most blended out parts of the fade, the crispiest, the tightest. And then I'm just gonna finish off with my wall heroes, kind of any little line that is left behind at the very bottom of that fade from the bald. I'm just gonna take that out. Then I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same steps over on the other side. The reason why I don't move on with the rest of the fade before this is I kind of want to make sure both sides are kind of at least pretty damn near evenly matched in terms of baldness, to kind of set and shape of the arches, to make sure the rest of the fade kind of plays out. Now I'm just gonna take my Oster speed lines, as you can see, go up about a ½ an inch, and still working with that arch that I've previously made with that outline, and going up not too high, just about ½ an inch, and then working my way down from open guard, halfway, almost close, and then all the way close. These speed lines do give a little bit of a softer fade, and they do work well going in from the open no guard into the close 0 guard when you go back to your fade masters, and I like that transition a lot better. And then of course I go back on the other side, do the same thing, and this is actually going to be the first side that we work on fading wise. And I just take the 0 guard open with my fade masters. Now you're gonna see me playing with that lever a little bit back and forth when I'm making that first guideline. I'm not moving it any more close or open. I'm just making sure that stays open. Actually, I need to fix that little tension blade, because that shit likes to close up a little bit. I want to make sure that blade always stays open. And then after I create that guideline, I'm gonna go all the way close with the 0 guard and work my way up from close halfway to open, and then kind of play with it in and out, flicking the blade in and out, kind of just making sure everything blends in. And then if I still have a little bit of a line at the very bottom, I'm gonna go back with my Oster speed lines all the way open, and just kind of picking out any little hairs or any little darker spots that I do see. Now I'm gonna go ahead with my Motive Pro comb. Now I'm not trying to fade the hair into the 0 guard right now. All I'm doing is just trying to sculpt that bulk hair and kind of make sure it gives a little bit nicer transition. This next step that I'm gonna be doing is actually something I've been doing recently with all my fades. It's a little different than what I usually do. Usually I go with a 1 guard and kind of continue that trend of going open halfway close. Now I'm actually going to take my 2 guard all the way open, and I'm just going to go up like I would if I was to go up with my 1 guard, about 3/4 of an inch up, and working my way from open halfway to close. And then right after that, I'm actually gonna take my one guard and kind of go right back over everything I just did, flicking out, and as to almost create a fade technique of that very top of that line is gonna almost fade in nice and perfectly with everything else. Now, it's not gonna fade in perfectly like I just stated before. That's kind of a false statement. But I just like how tighter of a fade I do get. It keeps everything nice and dark while keeping that baldness and everything around there nice and tight. I don't stretch out my fades as long as I usually do, which kind of pisses me off sometimes. I don't like how some of my fades kind of run off and stretch out too long. This kind of keeps me in a nice balance of nice and blended, and also control how high I do take the fade. So once I work all the way down to a one guard close, I'm actually going to take my three guard open and take out any more bulk and kind of just start working my way in from those darker spots with a three guard open, halfway, and close. And then I'm just going to go ahead and take my two guard again, kind of go over any little lines that I do see, open, halfway, close, and then playing with the lever back and forth. Go ahead and take my thinning shears, and I'm actually going to go ahead and start blending out the very top of it, kind of making sure any more bulk is kind of nice and laying down. This is something I just do on fades where there's hair longer on top. These are thinning shears for fading. These aren't just to thin out the hair or anything like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take my actual shears and go ahead and just create a little bit nice softer look. Everything else kind of smoothly blended in, kind of clip over comb. This I'm not digging in too hard, but I am trying to fade up with the hair a little bit, but I'm not trying to mess up the shape of how the fade goes on the head or try to dig in too hard. I'm just matching the shape that I've already created, and really trying to take out any darker spots and softening up any darker spots, as you can see, and kind of rounding out the top too of the fade to kind of make it a nice smooth transition into the top of the head. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start the lineup around that arch right there. These are my ProMate Precisers with the T end as outliner blade. I do like these ones. They're nice and powerful clippers. They already have that skeleton blade effect in there to get around nice tight areas, and of course bald up, make sure everything's all balded out so it creates that real nice popping effect. And then for the back lineup, I like to take the hairs, just the very ends of the bottom of the neck hair down with, I think it's a 3 open all the way, so I'm just barely hitting those hairs just to kind of shorten them up, make it easier to line up. And then he does want this nice and rounded off in the back of the neck. So we're just going to take it from the center, working to the left side. Then I just go ahead and still cleaning up around everywhere that I see bulk at, anywhere that I see darker areas. I do go back over that line just to make sure everything is nice in place, kind of comb out any hairs that I might see poking out. This is all just cleanup work right here, just making sure everything that I see is up to my standard. And then I'm going to go ahead and just same steps all the way on the other side. Now, sometimes you know, for beginners, you might want to try with doing like a fade like this, a little burst fade, faux hawk fade. You probably want to take every step by step the same on each side. So do, you know, knock out open guard, open zero guard on one side, and then flip over the other side and do the same thing, and kind of work your way up that way, just to make sure that you know everything's even. When you do fade out one side, you gotta take a mental note of where you're taking everything. If maybe you don't know exactly where your points are, or where you want the fade to end up at, or even if it's your first time cutting somebody up that you're kind of inexperienced with, you might want to take it step by step on each side just to make sure that both sides are even. I would hate for you to have, you know, somebody get out of your chair and one side of the fade is higher than the other. I know I've done that in the beginning for sure, so it's not like we don't do that. There's just advice that I would give you until you do get comfortable doing these fades. These actually used to be like I hated doing these fades only because of the fact that I just hated working around the ear. Was an awkward position for me to be fading at, but I did so many of them that, you know, I think I got pretty decent at them. And actually, as you can see right here, I'm going over kind of like that back part of behind the right ear, just because I saw that on the left side I did take it a little bit shorter than what I did on the right side. So always be checking to make sure both sides kind of even out with how the fades work their way up. You know, even not everybody's gonna have that perfect fade every single time. You want to make sure that both sides are faded out evenly, and if you do see anything that's different, make sure they're both equal to the same and kind of look the same. And then I'm just gonna take that front hairline down with a 3 guard, kind of knocking off those little hairs like we did in the back, just to make it a little bit easier for us to line up. Spritz them down a little bit, and I'm gonna start with my ProMate Precisers with a T-outline blade, and work my way from the middle of the forehead to the side, just pulling down, kind of creating that nice little line, just working with his head, not pushing his hairline too far back. As you can tell, he is getting a little bit lighter. He does have a little bit lighter spots on his hairline, so we're just kind of trying to ghost it. I'm not trying to make his hairline the sharpest hairline out, but I am trying to make sure both sides are even, especially with his head. Some people's head shapes, where their hairlines are at, it can get a little bumpy in the line, or the lineup looks a little bumpy. Just make sure you really understand your client's forehead, their bone structure, and how the line should be looking. And just remember, please don't push anybody's hairline back. Even if they want to try and get extra crispy, maybe they're lighter in some spots, don't try to push them back unless your client wants you to push them back. I have had consultations with clients where I ask them about their hairline. They're like, no, you know what, push it back. I don't mind it being pushed back if you know that's their desired look, to get that crispy. But make sure you have that talk with your client. Make sure you know and he knows what the desired look that he's going for is. Go ahead, fixing up everything around there too, and then we're gonna get started on this part as well. Now I'm gonna take my speed lines again, kind of make a nice little light indent line. He always gets this part every single haircut. I've been cutting my man up for probably about 3 to 4 years now. Put in that first little outline with the speed lines, then go over it with my Slimline Pros, my cordless Slimline Pros, kind of going upside down, just kind of make sure that bottom line is nice and sharp, going over it. And then I go ahead with my straight razor, kind of straight razor any hairs, make sure that thing is all nice and super sharp with that. And then I might go over with my scissors or my trimmers again a couple more times, just so any hairs that I do see they're out of place or kind of poking out, those are kind of taken care of. And then of course, I gotta use hair fibers, so shout out to Chukatori's. You can go ahead and buy your hair fibers on therichbarber.com. I did use the black hair fibers, and it does cover up the lighter spots very, very well. I like how crisp it comes out. Just applying it nice and evenly. I'm not trying to make it look too dark or too fake, or too unnatural. When you do apply hair fibers, you do want to make sure that you apply a nice little light layer first. I've seen a lot of barbers, when they take pictures of their after haircuts after using hair fibers, they just have a super bald fade, but they have a super dark line where we all know there's no hair there, so it's just not a good look. Apply light hair fibers, preferably for me, unless you know how to apply hair fibers. But I always like when people start out, just to apply a nice little light layer, and then kind of add layer by layer until you get the desired look. Then of course we're just going to clean up with the trimmers over the hairline once more, just to make sure that those hair fibers are nice and crisp and set in there. I don't know if I got the spritzing him down, but I do spritz him down after I do straight razor him as well. And with straight razoring, I do like a backhand technique. So if you could see before, I went with the grain, and then now I'm just kind of going against it, backhanding it. Alright, next we're going to go ahead and move on to the eyebrows. Now I'm going to apply the exotic shaving gel. I do like this because it has a lot of all natural ingredients in there. We're going to start with the top arch. Now I do see a lot of people questioning, why the hell are you doing people's eyebrows, Deluxe? Look, if guys want to do their eyebrows, it's 2018. Ain't nobody give a shit. Only people really giving a shit are going to be the old heads that are stuck in 2003, wearing they baggy jeans, not understanding what the times is like right now. So I'm just going to take it nice and easily. Of course, all nice and cleaned up right there, looking a lot better with the fleeky brows. Yes, guys can have fleeky brows. Shut the fuck up if you don't think guys can have fleeky brows. I finish it off with scissors, just to get any little extra hairs that are sticking out, kind of combing out any hairs that might be sticking out that I did not get with the razor blade. I want to make sure that both sides are even too, kind of both the little arch are nice and even. I'm just going to move on to his facial hair. I'm going to go ahead and work on his mustache, work on the little chin hairs right there, take everything down on the face as well. And then of course I gotta straight razor him after I do all the facial hair, lining up, just make sure everything's all nice and crisp. Always pulling the skin in the opposite direction to make sure everything's all nice and tight. Clean him up with any aftershave just to make sure he's all disinfected. Don't forget the eyebrows or anywhere else that you did do extra services on, and spray him down with any sheen. And that is a little burst fade tutorial right there. I thank you guys for all the support that you guys always show me. I know sometimes I'd be lacking on the days of when I do drop these videos. I think this is Tuesday today. I'm gonna try to get it out by tonight or tomorrow morning. Thank you. I can't thank you guys enough for all the support and love that you've shown my channel in just over like 5 or 6 months. I believe gained over 1,000 followers, 1,000 subscribers, whatever the hell you call it on YouTube. Thank you. I'm going to continue on pushing out this content, and I will see you guys next week for my next video.